Oh my God. There's my daughter, Isabel.
Sophie.
You have glasses on.
Me?
Isabel. Oh my God, Jack and Rena.
Hi, Rena.
Hey, Naples L.
Oh my God.
Here, I can't really figure this out. Hold on.
I gotta get my pillow.
Here we are.
Rena and Jack, do you see Isabel?
Yes.
Right in the middle. She's dead center. Where's Sophie? She coming?
She's in virtual school.
Ah, okay.
So I don't know if she'll be able to get on the call or not.
Hi, Isabel. Long time no see.
Hello, Gina.
Oh my God, Gina and Jennifer.
Social
Thank you.
distancing.
Thank you guys for coming. Makes me so happy to see you all.
It's wonderful. We have 47 people already. It's only 12:03. Awesome.
So much love.
More people.
Ellen Plotkin.
Oh.
Hi, Lisa Khan.
Hi, Jennifer.
Who else is around? Other Raymond. Hi, Raymond.
Hi, who's talking? There's so many pages here. I'm trying to figure this out. Wait, okay. Hi, anyone I know?
Sandra Kaczynski looks like she's sitting on the beach. Are you literally, oh, you're on mute. Are you literally on the beach? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Who
You're
are
all
you
on-
talking to me? Are you talking to me?
No, well, no, there's someone whose name says Sandra Kaczynski, and she is
Oh.
a beach chair
I'm sitting on my deck.
on your deck. Okay. Great.
Hi, Sandra. Are you an
Hi.
LBI?
Yes, I am.
Nice.
Wait,
I have been here the whole time,
Good for you.
and I think I will be here until next summer.
Yeah,
That's where I would
From the
be if
looks
I
of it.
could be.
not a bad option.
question. How do you
That
make this
guy.
screen?
Who's asking a question, and I can.
I want to know how to make this full screen,
Can you click on
and I don't know how.
What
Go
kind
and
of
see-
computer?
I'm on my computer.
Are you on a Mac? If you're on a Mac, you just hit the green button on the upper left-hand corner of your screen, of your window.
Here. Oh, that says enhance career.
There's a little
Hey,
grid.
Lisa.
There's a little grid on the top right with 9 squares. If you click on that, you'll get everyone's picture.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
And now you got 1 page, and then you can page over to 2 pages.
Yes, thank you very
The second.
much. You're all a lot bigger now.
Hi, my sister Marie. I see you.
Hey, Lisa Lou. I was muted for a while, so I kept saying hi, and I just thought, oh, she can't hear me.
And I'm on a cell phone, so I can't see everybody at once. So.
Hi, Lisa.
I'm on-
Lori.
Lori.
Hi, Lori, I have your little bird. I look at it every day.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Lori's my teaching assistant, and she came with me to LBI last summer and taught a workshop. And Erin Shaler's not going to talk because she's just on the call though, and she's my studio assistant. I just wanted to introduce you, Erin.
Oh.
Well, this is so exciting. We have lots of people, 51 people. And for anyone who, Lisa, since you can't see everyone, just know that it is being recorded for everyone, and you can always just come back and watch and see everyone's beautiful faces. Lots of people joined us, and I'm so grateful to all of you and to Lisa for agreeing to speak with us today. Lisa's sitting in the gallery so that you can all see her beautiful exhibition. And I stayed away so that the Wi-Fi would, I don't know, make sure that the connection would be good. So I am going to mute everybody now, or if you want to mute yourself.
He's on the phone.
Oh, well, everybody else can see.
Okay. And I'm going to unmute Lisa. Okay, so we are going to speak to Lisa about her exhibition what's wrong with me? What's the name of your show, Lisa?
Using the sun to find north.
My brain just flipped it around. Okay. And most of you know, I'm Jennifer Zwilling, the curator at the Clay Studio, and I'm so privileged to get to work with Lisa and other artists like her to put on exhibitions in our gallery, as well as the residency program. We have a permanent collection, we have a guest artist program, and so Lisa represents the exhibition side as well as sort of the resident side, being an alumni of the program. We're really happy to be able to offer these free programs to you every week, and I always put on my PBS hat when I say to you, the free programming is here for you, but if you would like to help support us, there is a link in the chat to the donate button on the Clay Studios website. There's also a link to Lisa's exhibition. So you'll get to see it live here, but if you want to open it onto your browser, you can look at it later. And that's also a great way to support us and to support Lisa in her pursuit of art making. So feel free to look around in there. We are going to get started and talk through these amazing new bodies of work that Lisa's been working on over the last 2 years. So Lisa, I'm just going to start by asking you to tell us a little bit about that brave decision that has to be made when you decide to become an artist. I think it starts probably before that decision is made. So how do you feel like you entered into the world of being an artist in your life?
Well, I want to reference a conversation that I had with you and Margarita at the Michener recently. And Margarita said, I was describing the way I think, and she said, oh, you're a nonlinear thinker. And I thought, well, now I have a way of framing it, you know? So instead of saying you're ADHD and like putting some kind of a negative label on it, it's like nonlinear thinker. That really describes the way my brain works. And so what happened for me was at 17, I started working with clay. And it happened in the most accidental sort of way. There was a little greenhouse in the woods at the college that I started at. And I thought, that looks like a really peaceful place to get I wasn't like an academic kind of brain. So being in college was a stressful thing for me academically. So I just took that class, and it was the most unimaginative class you can possibly think of. Like, we were pouring beer steins, like slip into beer steins and dipping them in glaze. And it was still enough. It was still enough so that when I transferred from that school, even though I wanted a liberal arts education, I looked for a school that had a ceramics program. And I went to Douglas College of Rutgers University and studied with Kak Wang Hui. So I was making for 4 years before it ever occurred to me that I might try to create a life with that at the center. I just got at the end of college and it was like, oh, what are you gonna do next? You know? And this light bulb went off. I thought, this is what I do all the time. This is where I spend all my time. You know, truth be told, I spent more time in the ceramic studio in college than in the library, even though I was an English major, because it's just where my heart could be, you know, and my mind together. So what was your question?
No,
Nonlinear thinker.
Yeah, exactly. And then so you just described sort of how you got up to that point, which is exactly what I asked. And when did the light bulb go off that said, oh, I can do this for a living? Well, I can make an artistic life. I don't even know if we'd say do it for a living, but make an artistic life for myself.
I have to, yeah. I think that this is a really important pivotal moment, actually. At the end of college, I was so privileged to go to college, you know? Like, I just have to point to my parents because they were supportive. My father was the oldest of 18 kids born in poverty to Italian immigrants in Flushing, Queens. And like all the kids in his family, pretty much the American dream. And my dad's philosophy and my mom were figure out what you want to do, like really what you want to do, and we'll support you 100%. And they meant it. So I think a lot of parents get afraid of letting their kids be artists because they're afraid they won't be able to make a living. But my father, having grown up the way that he did, he believed that if people did what they loved, everything would be taken care of. Like one of his brothers became a trash collector on Long Island and ended up having like the largest truck parts company on Long Island. Like they were born to poverty and they all did, but he looked around New York and he was like, this is such a dirty place, I want to clean it up. So he became this, you know, garbage collector kind of, that's not really true that he became a garbage collector, but he used his brain and he ended up running a company that had a fleet, you know? So like everything does get taken care of. I think if people follow their natural instincts towards what, you know, life's given them as gifts. So I was lucky to have very supportive family. And my sister Marie's on the call. She's very instrumental in the fact that I'm an artist too. She was super, super important to that decision and that nurturance early on in my career. And she teaches art, and she's a painter, runs the art department at Monmouth County Community College. So lots of support, you know, and it's just what I found myself doing. But it mattered so much to me that in 2008, I started with my ex-husband, I started a studio tour in Bucks County called Elephant's Eye Studio Tour, because I wanted so much to show young people. I wanted there to be a model, you know. It doesn't show up in nursery rhymes with doctor, lawyer, and Indian chief. It just doesn't show up, artist. So I wanted people to be able to see artists in their own environments and see that it was possible. And also shine a light on the creative work that was going on in Bucks County that was contemporary.
Yeah. And how did that happen for you? I know that you decided to do a postbac at PCA, I think because of Bill Daley, or because he was there. So how did you find out about him? Were you coming into Philadelphia and going to galleries, or?
I love this story. I love that you asked that question. So I did a year after college, continuing to work in New Brunswick, New Jersey. My teacher, Hui, let me use the studio. And then, so I did that extra year, and then I went to RIT to get a master's degree. And Hui was not a person who told you anything about the art world. He didn't care about any of that. He was all heart and no politics, no ego. So when I got to RIT, I was I was a very lot shell-shocked, because I didn't have this vernacular and this, I didn't know how to talk about this stuff. And it was a very, very intensely competitive place at the time. So Bill Daley came as a visiting artist. And it was right after I'd had a massive kiln accident where like all this bisque that was just geometric shapes, it all fused together in a kiln. So I threw it all out. And I was at RIT at that time, we were told no visiting artist can come into your studio and talk to you if you don't have finished work. I had no finished work. So when he came around, he was going to everybody's studio. Bill Daley wasn't going to let anybody tell him who he could and couldn't talk to. So he went to everybody's studio, but I didn't know that. I just saw him coming towards mine. And I got out to the edge of my studio and I said, "You want to go over there?" And he's craning his neck into my studio. He said, "No, I want to talk to you about your work." I said, "I don't have any finished work. So you want to go over there?" And he pushed past me. He found 2 donut buckets. He put them upside down. He sat in one and pointed at the other for me to sit down. I sat down and he looked me in the eyes and he said, "Well, let me look at your sketchbook." And I said, "I was an English major, Bill. You do not want to look at my sketchbook." He said, "Well, then let's talk about what's in your head, because I'm sure there's something there." And I just looked up in those big blue eyes and I said, "Will you marry me?" I just couldn't believe this man he had more faith in me than I had in myself, and he wasn't political. He's a teacher's teacher. He just so cares about connecting. So after that year, I could see I wasn't cut out I didn't know enough about my work to make a master's degree statement, but I did know I wanted to work with this man. So I went and I worked with Bill and Petrus Vasquez and Liz Stewart and Larry Donahue for 2 years in Philadelphia at PCA. That was a postbac. And then I went on to a master's degree at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design to work with Walter Ostrom in the land of earthenware.
Yeah, that has been special too. Wow, yeah, that was just amazing people and experiences, but you found the people that you needed.
Yes, and I had the support. Very important piece, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I just want to say that wasn't rehearsed. We hadn't talked about that Bill Daley story, or I definitely would have asked you to repeat it.
Well, you know, and if we pass the mic around, you'd hear another dozen Bill Daley stories, because so many of these people know him and have similar stories. That's the gem we have in our community that we've all been touched by.
Yeah, and as have I, which is very special. So we are here at your kind of the end of your time as a student. I mean, although I suppose we're all students for our life, especially those of us who are open to it. And then you came to the clay studio. Can you, I'll be selfish and ask about how you decided to come to the clay studio, why you wanted to be here, and what it did for you, if anything.
Yeah, of course it did. Oh my God, why am I here again? I came back to Philadelphia after graduate school in Nova Scotia, and I wanted to work alone for a while, so I did. I had this little 2-story, my brother Jerry called it a South Philly high-rise. It was a 2-story house in the Italian market, and it just basically half the house was studio and the other half was living. And I wanted to work without other people around me. I had had such riches of community up until then, and I thought, can I do it on my own? How much was I absorbing from everybody else? Do I have this talent on my own? I just wanted to see if I could silence all those other voices, what I would make on my own. So I worked there for, I think, 3 years or 2 years by myself. And that's when Jimmy Clark, who was the director at the time of the Clay Studio, approached me and invited me to, they were moving into the building you guys are in right now. And they were starting this resident artist program, and he invited me to join, you know. So I joined shortly thereafter. And
that was the beginning of the resident program, the way it is now. There was what we call a resident program before that, but it was a bit different. Now it was more like invitation and kind of
there was a whole, during my tenure here, I think I stayed 3 years before I ended up moving to Bucks County, and we were allowed to stay for 5. I stayed for 3, and during that time it even shifted, you know, how it was curated, who had a voice in how people were voted in and stuff. But it was so rich, it was amazing. It was a continuation of the richness of those school settings, which I long for now in my life. And as I think about leaving Bucks County after 27 years, I'm looking for community. So anybody out there who's got one, let me know, let me hear from you. I'm thinking like Mount Airy or Germantown, you know, like moving to some place where it's less remote and where I can build a ceramics community, whether I build that or I join somebody else's. So it was very rich on the 4th floor here. And of course, just everybody who comes to Philadelphia, even in those days, that was 30 years ago. Anybody who comes to Philadelphia who's related to ceramics at all, even then would come to the Clay Studio. So it was a place to meet and greet and see and be seen.
Yeah.
So supportive, you know, at that stage of life.
That's good. I mean, I hope that's what we strive to continue to be, and it's nice to hear that that it's has this legacy. It's not just, you know, the fact that it's been this way for a long time is really satisfying. I should have brought up there's some old pictures of you standing next to the kiln.
Oh, really? I'd like
Yeah.
to see.
I bet Raymond probably has them. I know he's listening. There's one, are you in the one where everyone's sitting in front of the building when it said 2nd Street Art Building? I think maybe you're in that. I know Sandy and Neil are in that one.
I'm in one on the roof with that group of artists who was there. And I have that one, I can send it to you.
Oh, I don't think I've seen one on the roof. There's one of you guys standing in front of a kiln. Definitely send the roof one. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if Raymond finds it, maybe he'll put the link. It's on our website. You can put it in the chat.
I'm not sure if I'm in any of those, but
I know you're in
but
one.
yeah, it was important and it was a rich time. And then I met my husband here and we moved to Bucks County and built a studio for me in our barn there. And so it's so rich to be here in this show now because, you know, we raised, my daughter Isabel's on the call, and we had 2 beautiful, amazing daughters and had a rich life together. And as many of you know, sometimes those partnerships complete themselves and they end. So to have this show here now at the end, you know, after that, so this is a period of time, this 2 years in preparing for the show was coincidental with my daughter moving to California, just graduated from college and now she works for Virgin Orbit in Long Beach. My younger daughter was off to college and my marriage was ending. So it's like, you know, all the markers for orienting myself, all those identities were dissolving. So a very intense time. And so to reach out to you, Jennifer Zwilling, and I sent Jennifer an email and I think I said something like, I haven't wanted a solo show in 30 years. but I want one now because all this is swirling and I need something out on the horizon to anchor myself by and pour all this, pour all of what's happening somehow into form, if it wants to be brought into form. So I can't overstate the importance of what this show has meant to me over these last 2 years. And then, March comes and there's a pandemic. It's just amazing how much everything gets amped up. But that pandemic afforded me, I had to close my classroom. So it just afforded me all the more time to invest in this show.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Well, it's so satisfying to know that the exhibition could be, something that's important to you in your process as an artist, and that I mean, it's certainly meaningful that you were in this community and you sort of went to have your life in a different way, and now you're ready for community again, and you've come back to the Clay Studio and here, like, hopefully from this, the call or talking to people through the exhibition, that's going to happen, which is kind of beautiful bookends. So I think this is a good segue into talking about the bodies of work that are in the gallery with you, and what it was that you were trying to put into form, and which you did beautifully. And I mean, the work is just overwhelmingly emotional and skilled, and I hope that everybody who's able to come in will. I know Raymond put this in the chat, but just to remind everyone that if you want to sign up for a private tour, Lisa has generously offered to come in on Saturdays. So we have social distancing in the gallery, but you can sign up to just be 4 people at a time. And I highly recommend it, because walking through the show on your own is a lovely thing, but being there with Lisa is going to be extra special. So do you want to start?
I just want to say, as I've been setting up the show with Jennifer the last couple of days, there's a bittersweet quality, because I have so many visual images in my memory of openings in this space. And it's sad, it makes me sad to not be able to have this grand party. But if you asked me, which would I rather have, that grand party or this call plus Saturday visits with individual groups, I would take this. It's like a wedding where you don't get to talk to all your guests, but now I'm going to get to talk to so many more and so much more depth. And that's what I love more than anything, is that deep connection. That's what I want, and what fills me up. So before I start talking about the work, if it's okay, I want to read something that a quote.
Yeah.
What time is it right now, Jennifer? Because I can't look at my.
It's 12:25, and I'm also just going to remind people that they can put any questions into the chat. So we'll definitely loop back to that if I see people are doing that, but feel free to add there. And then go ahead, Lisa.
Okay, so I'm going to read this. It's a little bit long, so please bear with me. But it's such an important thing, and I noticed, I read it this morning, and I thought that has so much to do with my work. So it's by a guy named Matt Licata, who is a teacher and a writer who lives in Boulder, Colorado. Confusion is not pathology, it's path. It has something to show us that clarity could never disclose. The nature of chaos is wisdom, but we must enter inside the sanctuary to receive that level of revelation. The feeling of disconnection is not neurotic. It is made of information flow. It has something to show us that feelings of connectedness could never unveil. The allies of multiplicity are not at war with unity, but fellow travelers with them, as together they present the secret light. We're neither separate nor one, but the erupting, holding field in which these energies interpenetrate and dance the relative into being. While we may have a preference for oneness over multiplicity, the beloved does not share this bias and is ready at all times to employ either equally as its envoy here. Our loneliness, rawness, and brokenness are not mistakes. The shakiness, the uncertainty, the sensitivity are not errors. They are not pathology, but path. These visitors are not obstacles to our journey, but way showers of the mystery. It's almost done. The freedom we are longing for will never be found in the eradication of the unwanted, but only in attunement to the love and the information it carries. Yes, at times the burning can appear unbearable. Such is the nature of the heart as it opens, closes, discloses, and bears witness to form as it comes into and departs the realms of time and space. You may burn until you're translucent, but it is by way of this burning that the holy is revealed. So that's the end of that. And I am going to take the camera and walk you, just show you this series called Wayfinding, which
Great.
is a series of plates. And it starts with this red-tailed hawk who's landed at her midlife flat on her back, exhausted. And she has this choice to make. You know, she can go this way into the full embrace of reality. It's kind of like a position of surrender. Or she can go this way into coping strategies, which I didn't expect to be so hilarious. I was very enchanted when I made these because they made me laugh and they made my students laugh. But they're positioned in the way that they are on this wall in the studio. This is thanks to Raymond the Brilliant. We have a Vesica Pisces on the wall, which is a sacred geometry that is the cradle of all other geometries from a mathematical point of view. But it talks about integration, because when I heard this legend that this plate series is based on, when I heard the legend, I thought, oh, right, you make a choice. You either go towards, towards coping strategies, towards reality, or towards coping strategies, towards surrender or towards resistance. And the longer I spent with these plates and making them, the more I could see that it's not one or the other, So positioning them on the wall in a trajectory of two paths was deceptive in some way. And so it took me a long time to figure out that I wanted it to be set in this geometry. So I'm gonna take you across here. We don't have the whole show set up yet, but at least you can see Jennifer and I, Jennifer very, very patiently helped me position these through the drop ceiling, up into the beams, these clouds. So here, I was making this piece in my studio, whenever, a long, long time ago now. And I never made a sculpture that was just like flying and didn't have a support under it. So at the time I made a clay support under it, but it wasn't until it was out of the kiln that I thought, well, how's it going to stand? It can't just it's not a rabbit. It's just a sculpture of a rabbit. So I made this cloud, but I had to make it after it was fired. So that's a whole story by itself. But then I realized if there was one cloud, there had to be more. So I made all these clouds. I spent weeks making clouds and it cracked me up. It's like, I don't know if these clouds I don't know if they're gonna work, but I never made clouds before, but now I was a cloud maker and that's pretty cool. So this is a series of rabbits. So this one starts, here's our heroine. She's coming from the spirit realm. This is like the animating force of our being, jumps into the vessel, our body, and then it runs. It takes that journey of life, It's just running like Boy Bridge. Here's one with flowers in it. They're all flower holders. I think I want to show you, they have an insert. So this goes inside and it has holes. So you don't have to fill up the little shoots. You can just fill up the pot.
Yeah, and that's very traditional.
And these are Mexican sunflowers from my garden as an acknowledgement to Jack and Rena, who I was hoping would be on the call. I have to turn this way now. There's the second to last one, and then here's the last one. She's leaving the body. So this one's called death because she's covered from here forward in sacred geometry, like the first one, which just represents she's moving back into the spirit realm. And I wanted to talk for a minute about the geometric symbols that I've used, because some of them are like straight up sacred geometries and some are, this is Pennsylvania German, Pennsylvania Dutch. This DNA stuff, I asked both of my daughters. One's a microbiology student and the other's a mechanical and aerospace engineer. And so I asked them each to send me some kind of a symbol that was important to them. And this is from Isabel, who's on the call, Delta V. She said, in layman's terms, delta V is the oomph required to get into space. So that's why it's painted on the leg that's the last one to leave the earth there. So I just wanted to say that because I thought that was pretty cool to be able to, so I'll use those symbols now, you know, they have such deep meaning to me. Okay, so that's that.
Great. I think I would love to show people some process. Is that what you want to talk about next, Lisa?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we have oh, well, actually, first I'm going to show everybody what Raymond found. Lisa.
Am I in there? Oh, I am.
You sure are. That's you. You
Yeah.
look exactly the same. Have bigger earrings because it's the 80s. Okay. And there's Sandy.
There's Sandy. And
Okay.
and there's Isabel's dad right in the middle, Andy Claff.
Nice.
And there's that's Sibylla Zeldin right behind.
It is?
Andy.
Oh my gosh. That's
And George Perlman is behind her, and David Wright is in the corner. Yeah.
Who's that? Who's a woman below Sandy?
Below Sandy. I'm just so sorry, I forget her name, but she's still in the region. I think she lives maybe in Chester County.
Oh, okay.
Somebody on the call might know. She made a lot of shrines. That's all I remember.
Got it. Okay, so let's go to the process. Well, go back to the beginning. This is my favorite process shot.
Okay, so my daughter Sophie, when she left for college, I lost my model. She used to I'd put her in whatever position I needed and I'd be able to go 360 degrees around her and take pictures. But now my assistant Erin takes pictures of me, or I take them of her.
Nice. Okay, so this was thinking about the rabbits moving through space.
Yeah.
And then, oops, let me make this smaller. There we go. So there, and you're thinking about the form, and this is a little further on, but I really like that comparison to the body. So here's the vessel that's beginning.
Yeah, so they start, I meant to bring the measurements. They're huge when they start. I challenged myself to work in a larger scale on purpose because, you know, when you're out of your comfort zone, you're in a growth edge. So I also really wanted these pieces to have presence in the gallery.
And they do.
And they do. And so to have the, you know, what's the name of that wonderful gallerist up in New England who's still going strong? You guys all know her. I just am blanking out on her name.
Lucy, no.
No. Anyway, she came to me once and she said, I want you to make a teapot for my teapot show. And I want you to really pull out all the stops and make whatever you want. And I looked at her and I thought to myself, what is she talking about? I am pulling out all the stops. I am doing, like, this is it, you know? It doesn't get, I'm not holding back. And what I noticed, and at the time that was true, but now pots, like, I still love functional pots, but something in me, it's like gone over that territory so thoroughly that there's something more now. And so to take these out of the ordinary function scale felt significant to me. So I work on something called a printer's mat, thanks to Sandy Parentozzi. She taught me that, and Neil Patterson, that you could work on these printer's blankets. They're now sold. I actually sell them too. I have some for sale if anybody wants one. But they are gigantic things that you can roll a slab on that doesn't curl up underneath the slab. And so I could make these really large. I bet you this is about 50 inches wide and probably about, I don't know how tall, maybe 20 inches tall when it starts. So even just making something like that and then bringing in the darts to make the foot. So I start upside down. You can go to the next one. And then I start to draw the image of the rabbit, where the body's gonna land on the vessel. See, this is so exciting because I didn't know how to make a series of rabbits running, like a la Muybridge. I didn't really know. In fact, I thought they were gonna be a series of 5, and once I got the 5 out and we set them up, it was like, yeah, there's a missing piece, you gotta make another one. So just figuring out what position they should be in. So there's the body, and then you go to that next funnel shape. I threw the legs and the arms, or at least the beginnings of them, and then go to the next one. Then I pushed them out, manipulated them, and cut darts and shaped them. So that all started as that funnel.
Looks like a
And-
spout,
Looks like what?
like a teapot spout.
Yeah. And so this is where it goes on the vessel. And then I open it up, and the next shot's probably feet, but I made solid and then attached. And then these clay supports that have a little piece of nichrome wire at the tip of them have to be dried and fired as well, because those feet are solid and they will pull down, my clay is getting pretty close to vitreous at cone 1. And they need to be supported, otherwise they would droop. And so here's the neck to get from the body to the head. Leslie Farron, yes, thank you, Erin. Leslie Farron is the gallerist. So, yeah.
I've thought about that, but I didn't.
So there you go. The
Scale
little
different.
one in the front is a study that I did for this larger one, because I knew I was going to make them large, but that little one in the front is more my normal scale of anything, so it was really a challenge and a great one. So there it is, decorated and finished. It's green, it's not fired. So there it is in the kiln. And I don't know if you can zoom in, Jennifer, to see underneath the right foot.
The right.
There's one of those stilts is
Right here.
holding it. Yeah, that's all. I just kind of wanted to point that out. So in the center of that rabbit pot, you see all the grill work for the flowers. Well, that was the first one I fired. I didn't make them in sequence because I'm a nonlinear thinker. Anyway, I made this one first, and I made all the tubes. I built them inside because that's how I had been doing them when they were small. And this one made it through, no problem. But then when I fired the next one the same way, it cracked the base. So that's why I started making them as the whole grill work as a separate unit, so that there would be no chance that I would ruin 2 weeks of work, because that's how long they would take to make, about 2 weeks for one. So you can keep going.
And this is with the clouds the way you envisioned them in the photo.
Yeah, so in the gallery here, 2 days ago was the first time I hung a cloud. Some of my students, Tessa and Jane and Lori, helped me string all the clouds. But everything's an engineering feat. Like everything is you do your best guessing, but you don't know until it's out of the kiln whether it's going to work or not. So I was thrilled. Jennifer can attest to how happy I was when I saw those clouds hanging and how cool they look.
Well, and the first, I think they were up for less than 12 hours before someone in the neighborhood texted me and said, "Can I have those clouds?"
I'm going to become an expert cloud maker.
Yeah.
And just for anybody who's curious, the clouds are thrown, mostly they're thrown and altered, and then coils pinched to close them up.
Oh, here's a couple more of the.
Yeah, this is process. Oh, I just want to say another thing I learned from Sandy Parentozzi is to use a water-soluble marker to indicate. I mean, this was like a revelation for me because I never did, and I'd get to the end of a piece and be like, oh, I wish I could move it over 1/4 of an inch or an inch, the decoration. So the water-soluble marker burns out in the kiln, and it's just fantastic to be able to mark things up before you commit to them with slip. And that just shows you, trying to create that base. You can just keep going. So when I was making the base, you can see the piece is fired, but the cloud that sits under it is green. And so as probably most of you, if not all of you know, clay shrinks. And so to make that cloud that goes underneath that rabbit after the fact was just ridiculous. It was like, if I had this to do over again, I would definitely do them at the same time. But these are just process shots to show you. There's the nice clear shot of the Delta V.
Yeah, that's so great.
And then you see both sides of that particular piece. And that little gold spot where she's entering the form, I made that 22 karat gold in a luster firing because it's, to me, sacred, spirit coming into form. what this human life is just such a mystery. It's so phenomenal. And so that's like the crossing point right there. That's why that gold is there.
So let's talk a little bit more specifically about the plates, because you showed kind of the whole series on the wall there, but here's one of your reference images.
Yeah, I wanted to I don't have too many pictures of the plate series, but I wanted you to know that I started with an idea. And so when I was looking at images that day, I was looking for a hawk standing in profile. And I came across this dead hawk, and it really like just hit me in the heart. And I was like, whoa, that's really provocative, but it's dead. I'm not trying to draw a dead hawk. But then I thought, but I am dead tired. I am so tired. I was so tired. And the story is about this hawk that hits her middle life, and she falls out of the sky, flat on her back, exhausted. So this is why I use this. I thought, if you could go to the worst possible interpretation and not shy away from it and not flinch, then good, say what you have to say. Don't play small. So I used this, and instead of making her eye in the actual piece like bright and wide open, I kind of made it drooping. So it would see that you could see. So then the whole piece gets a dry brush slip as a base, and then I outline, I draw the image area and with a water-soluble marker, then fill it in with some very fluid. So the dry brush slip is basically just a very viscous slip with most of the water removed, so it's pasty, so it skips, it doesn't flow. Viscosity means like bad flow property. So this is a very, the liquid slip is a low viscous, has low viscosity, and it just paints right on, flows right on. And then all the overpainting. It gives good contrast to what's behind it, which is highly textured, and this front stuff is not. So, and I just wanted to have this shot in there because to help ensure their safety, I did lose the first one I made of this scene. I lost in the firing, and it was slab built and coil pinched the edge. This one's thrown. I had to give up on my slab built plates for the large things because there was just too much tension. But one of the ways that I learned through actually my friend Neil Patterson was to surround the plate with refractory. And it just slows, and then there's another shelf right on top of it. So it's just this little sagger, a little sandwich in the kiln to slow down the thermal expansion and contraction. And it worked.
Oh, that's great. Well, and there's the community supporting you, right?
Oh yeah, those guys are amazing.
We don't exist by ourselves.
Quite right.
So it's just to give people a little bit of an idea of the incredible detail and your skill as a draftsperson. When are we going to think of a better word for that? Your drawing skills, which are incredible. Oh
my God. It's like, okay, I just want to say about this one. So where the other one is pulling out her feathers because she's dealing with reality. Her feathers are molting and they're falling out. So she's just assisting them. This one is the correlating plate on the other side. She lands her escape airplane and realizes she's got a chill coming down her spine. So she grabs a friend and she goes shopping for her coat. And so her friend's saying, love, and she's saying, right? So, and the bags on the floor are telling you what the name of the store is. It's the More Store. Because that's the thing about shopping. It's like you always want more and more and more. But I interrupted you. You were telling me.
I was just complimenting you, so you cut me off because I was complimenting you. You didn't cut me off. I just mean you were trying to change the subject.
I probably was because honestly, the hardest thing for me about these plates was the drawing. And because I don't fancy myself somebody who has great 3D, I will claim that I have great confidence. I can render in 3D quite naturally, but to render in 2D, because 3D is where I live. I'm a 3D-dimensional person, and 2D is like an illusion. And so I was talking to my sister Marie and saying, like, I'm not a great painter. This is so nerve-wracking. It brings up all this self-doubt, blah, blah, blah. And she said, Lisa, a painter is someone who paints. That's it.
That's it.
And I was like, oh my God, then I'm a painter. You know, it's great. She just kind of gave me permission.
Well,
And I
and
went.
right when you were saying it's an illusion, then we see this image which has all this great perspective and mirror qualities, and just, I love it.
Thank you. I love that one too, but that was the last one I painted. You know, like I was starting to get the hang of it, but also anything that was an object like this was much easier for me than trying to paint mountains or the beach. Those were way, way, way harder. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, where's the one with the beach? I want to show that one. I thought I had it. Where was it? Oh, there it is. That's so great. And I just think it's great that one of our guests today is sitting in a beach chair. I know she's not actually on the beach, but she's near the beach. So I think this is great. So I want to save room for questions, and we're at 12:49 or something. So I'm just going to show that even though there was this amazing vessel sculpture series and this amazing plate series, Lisa still felt like she needed to make more amazing things. So there are these incredibly evocative bell forms that have wonderful, just emotional impact. And we can talk about those, but I do want to get to people's questions. And then there are these two vessels, and if Lisa, you don't mind me sharing, there was a conversation about, do we show these two vessels? Because Lisa was saying, I feel like this is kind of what's next, so maybe it shouldn't be part of this. And to me, this whole show is so much about journeying, and it's really special to give the viewer a chance to see what's on the horizon and where all of these artistic explorations are leading you. So to me, it's
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. And I would say too, like, to work with you has been such a pleasure. You were in my studio and I was talking about, I don't know whether to include these. And you said, I think that if you didn't include them, you will wish that you had. And I felt so seen. Like, I think that that's very true, because it gives me a chance to talk about just how process works for me. These actually were made before everything else, but they are what's next. So I made my way into the rabbit series, and after it was finished and I started the plate series, I could see that I did the rabbits first because it was easier than the plates. So, and the plates, as hard as they were, probably easier than what's coming next. You know, like I kind of just had to coax myself out into, I don't know if it's going to be harder than, because that plate series, I feel like I poured my whole soul into it. I really feel like I've exposed myself completely, and it feels very liberating. You know, I want to also just mention that there'll be a article coming out in Ceramics Monthly that I wrote about the plate series and manifesting it. And I would encourage anybody who ventures in these realms of creativity to read it, because I felt like after 42 years of making, I have something to I can see. There's like a certain vantage point from there that I couldn't have seen before. And so I bothered to try to squeeze all this chaos into little tiny words, which wasn't easy for me, but I think it reads, you know, I think it comes across. So we're at time, so I'm going to stop talking. I just want to answer some questions, and thank you all so much for coming. It means the world to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is so great. I feel like we could definitely keep talking, but I just want to honor what, as you said, what people are asking. So I'm going to go back to the chat. I'm going to end the share so we can see each other better and say that, let's see, people were saying hello in the beginning. That's so nice. Stephanie Osser says, what a wonderful person you are, sharing all this and moving forward with so much support along the way. Such an admirer of your work. Erin Shaler likes the photo. And Kelly Clark says, I'm sharing the Zoom call with my advanced ceramics class. We are big fans. Thanks for the opportunity.
Hello.
Belle Boyles. Lisa, if there's time, can you repeat the name of the writer and the source from which you're reading that quote that you read? And thank you for
It's
sharing.
Matt. I can't type into the chat, I don't think, because I'm on
I
my
can
phone.
do it. Just, yeah, I'll do it while you say. Matt.
Licata, Licata. If you go to Google search for Matt Licata and then put "confusion is not pathology" in quotes, you'll find that.
Up to the top. Lisa, oh, Margarita says, it sounds like Rumi, the philosopher. Thank you, Lisa, beautiful.
The other quote I brought with me to read was Rumi, as a matter of fact, but I only decided to read one.
Wendy says, love the arrangement of the plates, awesome movement and story. Judy asks if the images are available to see on the website, and yes, they are all there. Wendy says, clouds are definitely wonderful and fun. Erin says, Sandy looks the same. Oh, the photo we were looking at, it's crazy. And then Raymond says the rabbit's body looks like it's partially thrown, but it wasn't, it was just the legs, right?
Yeah.
Leslie Farron. And she's often on the call, so she's not here today, I don't think.
Well, she got my attention that day because I thought, what does that mean? But now I know what it means, because when I asked for the show, I knew I wanted to say something bigger. And I needed a bigger space to be the container so that the ideas would come.
And she asked you because she knew you could do something, however many years ago that was, right? She saw that in you.
Maybe so.
And that's what Elizabeth Agro, who's the curator of craft at the museum, when she has the opportunity to talk to artists, she often recounts that she says, like, okay, well, if this was the piece that you were the one piece you would have at the museum in the collection, what would you make? Which is a good question to ask yourself. Love the process shots. Thanks for the tip about the kiln posts. You're a natural teacher. Tell us about the text on the plates. The choice to include text. That was Jennifer Baldwin.
It just felt like it completed the storytelling. Words are really, really important to me. And I love words. And I just thought that they supported the telling of the story. So it just was natural, it was a natural thing. But coming to the phrases, like what was going to actually be what was going to be committed to for each plate, that was, that took, it took its time. I often find that things come in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning when I wake up. I'll get a download, just like comes as a whole piece, and I just write it. I keep a pad and index cards by my bedside and record those things because they seem to come from someplace other than the thinking mind,
Yeah, it's important to be open and ready to record those things. And it's a complex, I think it's partially that you just also wanted to be clear. You wanted to really tell people and share this experience you've had. I mean, any person's life journey is valuable, and I think it's a gift to other people who are struggling through transitions to be able to talk about it in a really clear way so that somebody else has that opportunity to kind of clarify themselves through your words. So,
yeah, and I'm not working in a vacuum. Like I'm making this work, and I don't mistake myself as special or different, like unique in some way. Do you know? Like we are human beings, and so what's happening to me is happening to other people, and I care deeply about communicating clearly. At least taking the best shot at it that I can. But I know that it's also just equally valid that somebody else reads something else into the plates or into the rabbits. That is equally valid. But I will make my statements as clear as possible to let people know where I'm coming from.
Yeah. I do get a bit of the history nerd in me. Thanks Martin Brothers and the British arts and crafts ceramic artists from the end of the 19th century. And as I was looking through working on the show with you, I saw some of your older work, and there was a bird with a head a vessel with the bird head, which,
Right.
I mean, so
Was
is Martin Brothers something? Because they use text all the time as well.
Oh, that particular piece, I know which one you mean. It was like a, what was the name of those vessels?
It was one of the ones I took down from the website earlier today.
Right. And I just made it in a class as a demo because we were doing figures that we were basing stuff on the Martin Brothers. Like that wasn't really like work that I pursued, but it was a piece that I made very much based on somebody put in the chat what the name of those jars are. I want to say Coptic jars, but that's not quite right.
Yeah.
Jen, you know what it is.
I could have, yeah, it's got a C.
It's got a C.
I almost had it. It's almost Coptic, maybe. It's but that's the yeah.
Canoptic. That's it.
Okay, let's see. What's the next question? We already answered slab belt. Have you thought about turning the series into an illustrated book? That's a good idea.
I haven't thought about turning it into do you mean the plates? The person asking that question? Do you mean the plates or the rabbits?
So. I think the plates, but I could be wrong.
I want to make an iBook for myself. Like those plates are my life over the last 2 years. And I treasure them. I don't need to hold on to them, but I treasure the experience of having made them. And I just want to say, like, that's the thing, like everything that's in this gallery it's like the smoke left after the fire. This is how I've come to see art. It's like, to call it the carcass is like a negative, but it's like, it's the trace that's left after the thing has happened. And so bringing all that forward, that's why having the show on the horizon was so important, because it catalyzed it all.
Yeah.
So I mean, not an illustrated book, but maybe, I mean, I'm open. I'm really open to see what's next.
We'll figure that out. Okay. Rena Thompson says, Lisa, the work is just a joy to see and so wonderful, thrilling. Happy and proud of you, Bezos. Stephanie wants to know if you fire your plates on sand on the kiln shelf or firing slabs made of the same clay body. Have you had problems with cracking, low fire clay? She missed which kind of clay you're working with.
Well, the plates all the rabbits are made out of my own custom clay, but because it is so dense when it's fired to cone 1, the plates I knew were going to be cracking. So I used Miller 20G. It has a very mild sand in it, but it fires to cone 4. So firing it to cone 1, gave it a lot more latitude and flexibility in the thermal department. I don't fire it on a bed of sand. I do sprinkle a little sand, like salt. You would sprinkle salt on your eggs, like just little enough ball bearings so that that plate can move. And I don't fire things on. I say if you need to do all that, put it on a piece of clay, then maybe you could consider a different clay. Finding the right clay for the job is brilliant. Yeah. And I do fire at cone 1, by the way.
Chris says, no loss for work ideas in you, Lisa, always from the heart and life's journey. Jack Thompson, can you say a bit about the written parts? I guess we sort of have done that. Did you want to say anything else?
We can talk later, Jack.
Stephanie loved your rabbit story and plate series. So great to see your lovely smile, says Charlotte Martin. Wonderful work and stories, Chuck. Thank you, so inspiring, from Wendy. Corey Weiser Vehi, who's a wonderful clay studio artist right now. Lisa, I have a mug from a sale at Neil and Sandy's that has a story of trees on fire. I feel you have great storytelling quality. Is there a main storyline here? Well, yeah, I think
I just want to say that story about the trees on fire, that came right out of a book that Isabel Be Mortified, but she was like 4 years old. And she told me she was making a book on the floor in my studio. And I said, well, let's do it. So we actually made a book, and I still have this book. And there was this tree is on fire because it's so close to the sun. Can you believe it? It's so hot. It's on fire. A lot of that cup came right out of my daughter's mouth.
Oh, that's great.
And she's 24 now, just saying.
Brilliant. Thanks for the inspiring thoughts, Belinda. Kit, beautiful work, Lisa. So fun. Thanks for telling your stories. Creation on the Rabbit's Journey. Bunny and Hawk love galore. You're an amazing cloud maker. Clouds illuminate, and your beautiful work is such a gift. Thanks for sharing. Canoptic. Thanks, everybody. Believe the plates must be made into printed matter. I think so too. And someone, Erin put in the chat the clay body, a link to your clay body. Thank you. People should see the way the text on the plates is so beautifully printed and spaced. The actual printed words are very beautiful. I agree, and it must have been extremely time consuming.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, this is great. Well, thanks everyone. I'm so happy to hear all of your questions and your comments. Alex says, so happy you're finding your new style and diving into it. Scary to do, inspiring to watch.
Thanks, Alex. That's my nephew in California who's an artist as well.
Nice. Well,
Brilliant.
Excellent. Well, I just want to thank Lisa. I feel like we could talk for another hour.
Thank you all for your time. Thank you, Jennifer, so much for this opportunity, and to Jen Martin too. I'm really grateful.
Naima has really helped a lot in the gallery. Raymond, as usual, incredible. And just with the painting, which is still going to get even more details soon. Dominique, always a big help to us as well for gallery, everything, and artist relations, and everybody.
And Josie. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So I think we're going to stop because I'm going to make everyone come in and have their private tours with Lisa if you want to hear more.
Sign up for a tour or come in by yourself during gallery hours. And if the Saturday time doesn't work for you, just email me, because I will come in any day of the week, because it's my jam to connect with you, to be really perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And email me or Lisa, or go leave us a message on the website. We'll figure it out. Thank you so much. You can take yourselves off mute again if you want to say bye as you're going out, and I'm going to watch everybody as they